Hello, everybody. Welcome to the D-Pad for our July 2021 Patreon Hangout. It's just me tonight. It's been kind of a busy couple weeks, as has probably been evidenced by the amount or lack thereof of some of the stuff that we've put out recently. Am I like really quiet right now? I feel like I'm super quiet. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm just imagining that. I'm just like looking at my sound output and I'm just like, yeah, that looks a little low, but I think it's probably fine. Yeah, no, that should be. Oh, okay, yeah, no, we're doing fine. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah. So for anybody, I don't think anyone here live is new tonight. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we haven't had any changes in the folks who are at the live tier. If you're watching this after the fact and you'd like to see how to join this live, we do it every month. It's a once a month Patreon live hangout. We kind of walk down the schedule of videos that we're in the midst of producing and stuff that's coming up and stuff that's happened. And you can check out, all that info at patreon.com/dpadfm. It's patreon.com/dpadfm. But yeah, so I figured I'd hop on. I figured I would, and I said I was going to hop on and kind of chat you guys up about stuff that's been going on. It's been light on the video front. A lot of our like video schedule bit of this is going to be like, yeah, that still exists. We just haven't done much. Oh, that one too. We haven't done much of that one either, but that still exists. Normally during the summer, we do wind up going generally a little bit lighter on videos, just because like everybody's kind of got summer plans because the weather's nice. Obviously, with COVID and the Delta variant and stuff, that's been kind of up and down a lot of different ways. So that's been kind of, we had a sort of a beta version of this called, I think it was the State of the D. We did like 2 of them. Yeah, and it was kind of the same general gist. I think we actually even did a few like announcements of series on that. I'm gonna turn down. I got a fan on me. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit just because it's like distractingly blowing in my face. But yeah, we have been pretty busy with the games. How have you guys been enjoying the games so far? Hopefully people have been getting a kick out of it. Obviously, some of the events have been more successful and interesting than others, but a lot of the stuff was 50% planned. So it's funny. I don't know if we're going to. I'm not going to name drop who I'm referring to, because I don't know if they're going to be involved in this. But there's someone that I reached out to try and commentate on at least one of the events that, when I scrolled back in our like Twitter message history between the two of us, there was like a very short set of messages in 2018, ironically about sports, and then in 2016 was me messaging them about a different version of the same idea. And they were interested back then, so hopefully they'll get in here before this thing's over. The ideal situation was we were going to get 16 different commentators for the 16 different events, maybe 17 including opening ceremonies, though obviously today we had Retro Trigger back for Excite Bike. But I don't think we're going to get 16. I think we're going to wind up with around 9, maybe 10. No, actually we're going to have more than that. I'm actually going to take a quick look, because we've already had 7. And I know that we have another 1. I mean, assuming co-commentators don't count, we have another 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so we have another 2 that are confirmed. So that's 9 commentators / 9 commentation teams / 1, 2, 3, 4. So 13 commentators. So I mean, which, yeah, I think it's gone pretty well. Not bad for what, I mean, it's been, I'm not gonna lie, it's been difficult to organize on all fronts. figuring out the games was kind of a trip. Obviously, there's differences in opinion on what games we could have done or should have done. There are some games that I wanted to have in there that we ultimately didn't for one reason or another. I think I talked about during the baseball event, we did Tecmo Baseball, which is the baseball NES game that I grew up with. I haven't played it since like 1994, but that's the one that I remembered. But like Dustin and I think Jeff both talked about RBI Baseball, which I guess was actually the more popular one, which I didn't realize. I hadn't heard of RBI Baseball until like high school or college. Like I just knew Tecmo Baseball. I also really wanted to do Backyard Baseball, the CD-ROM game, but as it turned out, like, so again, the one that I'm most familiar with, the one that it seems is the most popular ultimately, was the original. I think was the like 1999 version of the game, and they didn't add multiplayer mode for like 3 or 4 iterations of the game, and I was like, this is gonna make things kind of complicated. I want to keep it kind of simple if I can. But yeah, so scrolling through the chat a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting some of the patterns that have kind of emerged for some of the like meddling and things like that. I don't want to spoil. There's a few things that that are like known at this point, and there's an interesting streak that's in here that I'll be curious what people think about as well. Yeah. It should be something that comes up over the weekend, actually. But yeah, those have been really enjoyable. I'm glad. It seems like people have been really enjoying the games. Street Fighter 2 tourney was pretty rad. I think that was a great time. I can't speak like for anyone else's personal experience with like not like the controls exactly, but like so I've literally my entire play experience with Street Fighter 2 has been the coverage that we've done on the channel. I don't think I've ever played it outside of the D-pad, so I'm definitely proud of how I did with that. There were times where I was like, I just want to do a Shoryuken. I just want to do a fucking Shoryuken, and I couldn't pull it off, and I got a couple Hadokens in there. But it was a good time. I had a good time. There were definitely, I think, 2 matches where I had the person I was facing down to like 5 or 6 pixels, and I just could not seal the deal, which was agonizing, but what you gonna do? That's the way the cookie crumbles. And oh yeah, no. So we had a bunch of these folks. A lot of folks I had kind of figured out ahead of time. Some folks I was chatting a couple weeks ago. The baseball one wound up being a very sudden like, wait a second, we have like this huge gap in here, and then while I was talking about it to, oh my God, there's something in my eye. I was talking about it to, I think Jeff was here at the time and mentioned that that Teddy, aka Evil Hippie, might be down for it, and he was, and I think he did a really, really good job with some difficult material for sure. Tecmo Baseball is a rough go. Me and Dustin's game wound up being pretty quick because at that point we had a good idea of what we were doing, but even still, it would have been a minimum of an hour long, even if every game was that long. So that's there. Let's see. Oh, the billboard. Yeah, the billboard is kind of hilarious. The fight one is the weirdest. All the rest like generally make sense. You've got your obvious self-aggrandizing. The Tecmo is number 1, and you've got the go ahead and stuff like that. But then you got fight, and it's like, I know what you're going for. I know what you're trying to go for. It's the more like, yeah, go for it, fight, yeah. But it does just sound like it's like fight, let's go. Which I thought was kind of fucking funny. And yeah, very sports cheer. I mean, like, what was it? The Os Tatakai Wendan. That series is literally like what? Go fight cheer squad. And I think Tatakai is just kind of like a thing anyway. Or is it Os? I thought it was Tatakai is fight. I might be wrong there. Oh yeah, the rude gestures. The rude gestures were pretty great as well. Mr. Bucket sadly did not make it in here. Actually, I don't think. Ironically, you could make an argument for that for like basketball, but basketball is not one of our events. So for what it's worth, I'm sure people are kind of wondering how the events got picked in the first place. The general rule of thumb, there were kind of 2 different things we aimed for. One was I wanted to have a combination of classic events that have been there more or less since the 19th century games, like, or not 19th century, 1904. I forget when the first modern games were. I think it was 1896. I might be wrong. I thought it was 19th century. I could be mistaken. I know Paris 1924 was a thing. I think there was it was the 1890s. Regardless, I wanted events that had more or less been there since the beginning of the modern Olympics, and I also wanted to try and highlight the new events, the ones that were either brand new or returning after, an absence for 2020. And I think we got a pretty good mix in there. There's a few of them that are like definitely like merging, like a merging of stuff. Like we had a martial arts event because I was looking at them and I'm like looking at all the different stuff, all the different varying disciplines, and I'm just like, there's just too many of these. If we get too specific on a martial art, it's gonna get weird. Like there's a few martial art games that you could ostensibly do. We could literally play Kung Fu if we wanted to do something with those, or like, but at the end of the day, it was just like, all right, I think martial arts as a combined thing, and it needs to be a game. I mean, most fighting games do this, but a fighting game where I wanted it to be a fighting game, and I wanted it to be a game where the characters are explicitly different styles of fighting. And I know a lot of people were talking about Smash Brothers. I kept that one out because I was like, I feel like, one, it's something that a lot of people are just playing right now anyway, and two, it just kind of felt like Smash Brothers, it's too easy for there to be like a really wide separation in skill levels. I think each team would have probably picked the person they felt the most confident in for that, but even still, like, it just, then you have a question of like, does everyone have to? It becomes a Smash Brothers tournament. Do people have to pick characters ahead of time? Do they get to like re-pick depending on? It's just like, this is already a ton of work. Let's try and simplify it. And Street Fighter 2 was satisfied both having characters with a lot of different fighting styles and also being a classic video game. Not all of these are classics, but I tried to emphasize the more classic games where I could. I feel like it's kind of nice to be able to have like a wide array of different games. Taking a look at it, yeah, we have some from like, obviously we have some from the NES era. I'm trying to think what the most recent game on the list is. I guess Tony Hawk. I guess skateboarding wound up being, because I think that was literally from the beginning of this year. So we obviously have a pretty wide net there. What is that, like almost 30 years off of that? So, all right. So that's the other thing. There were a couple rules I had for, so a combination of those, and also I forgot what the second thing I was trying to do with those was. Oh, the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to try to line up the games as best I could with the actual real-life events gold medal matches. Both A, because it's going to be on people's minds, and either they'll search for it and SEO is nice, or B, it just kind of feels cool. If you're watching the live event, you switch over to this, and then you come back there, and I thought that was kind of neat. I explicitly stayed away from Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, any official Olympic Games branded video games, Mario sports games, and Wii sports games. Those were kind of the big four that I stayed away from, and that was mostly because it would be far too easy for it to just kind of be a whole shitload of those, and I wanted to have this be a more diverse array of games and gaming experiences. And even just like consoles. I wanted this to be a whole bunch of different consoles from all over the place, not just Nintendo. And it would have been a little bit too on the nose to be doing, we're doing our fencing game, and it's Mario and Sonic at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games fencing. And like, it would have felt a little bit on the nose for that. Ironically, this was like that portion of the rules was planned out months ahead of time. Off the top of my head, actually, I wonder. I have a private server with a couple folks for planning purposes, and let's see. Yes, the games were determined. The actual events were determined back in February, along with the teams more or less. The original version of this was 4 teams of 4, but feasibility and availability and stuff wound up pushing it down to 4 teams of 3. Um, we do have one more team member that has not been revealed, I guess. Like it's just like by dumb luck that they haven't shown up yet, but they're going to be in videos that are in next week in the lineup. But looks like we're dropping some frames. It's good times. Let's see. Oh no, I lost my notes. Where's my notes? There's my notes. But yeah, so I tried to stay away from actual like branded Olympic stuff because it felt a little on the nose. Tried to make it a mix of classic events and the modern ones that have been added. The modern ones, off the top of my head, I don't think skateboarding is not new for this one, is it? It might be new. Baseball just came back. There's one or two that haven't actually shown up yet, and I won't spoil it for you. Though if you look at the intro video, I'm sure a lot of people were figuring out based on the icons that we used what the events actually were, which is kind of which is fine. I mean, whatever. But at the end of each video, we've been making a point to have the commentators say what the next one is going to be. So yeah, pretty cool there. So yeah, this is going to continue into. Excuse me, until the end of the first week of August. It's going to wrap up as the games that shall not be named do. I guess I've already said Olympics, like whatever. I mean, I'm referring to them, so whatever. We've also, been very careful not to use that word or any variations on that word in the videos themselves for this. The International Olympic Committee is extraordinarily litigious. They are probably the most lawsuit-happy organization that I'm even aware of. And part of this idea, so this idea came around the same time. I think actually just a tiny bit before, but they Power to Mario did a series that was originally called the Mario Olympics, and then became, I forget what he renamed it to, but it was renamed to something else because, because that's not so cool. I don't know if he actually got contacted by the IOC. I'm not positive about that, but it definitely was something to watch out for. Dropping some more frames, unfortunately, there. And yeah, that's kind of one of the big things I really wanted to do with this was to have it feel like a legit television broadcast. I thought that was kind of like a neat twist to have on there. I thought it'd be cool to, because like we do plenty of Let's Play videos, and like while I understand that people do feel like they're missing out on the actual commentary that we were making during the events, I really wanted to I don't know. It would have wound up. So speaking from the experience of having we had 10 of us here for this. It was kind of crazy. It was a combination of lots of quiet moments where people weren't really saying much because they were focused on the game, and then incredibly loud moments where 10 people in one room were shouting their heads off, and that's twice as many people as we have mics, and it would have been absolute torture to edit. As it stands, between like getting all these overlays in place and getting footage to match up with commentators' video and things like that, that's already a lot more time consuming than you might think. Doing that in addition to like trying to wrangle, 5 or more microphones would have been just too much, I think. It was already plenty chaotic too. We were kind of jumping back and forth across a bunch of different games as people came and went. Because we had a lot of different games to get done there. But yeah, I don't know. I had thought about trying to figure out a way to have commentators interview the players. Yeah, that is something that I spent some time thinking about. Um, it was tough because like some of the commentators we didn't really have figured out until after the games were recorded, and at that point too, it's like, all right, is it weird to like bring people back to get interviewed in the middle of all of this stuff, like to or not in the middle, but after it's done, but interview them as if they're in the middle of the event still. Like, I don't know. It felt a little strange. It would have required a lot faster and more reliable access to everybody, both commentators and participants alike. And it didn't quite, like the way that it would have to go is we would literally have to have, and maybe this is, something just to, like I'm taking notes on all of these, but like it would have been, potentially possible if we had someone who was, their role was basically field reporter, and we pull out the camera and we have them, ask questions in the middle of because then we could do it in the middle of the thing, but we just didn't really have anybody who was like not part of the games at that point, so it didn't really make a ton of sense based on the way that we had it lined up. So I think I know the moment you're referring to, Final Biscuit. There was like one moment in today's commentary, right? I don't think that was a curse, like because when I do my first pass of the audio, I'm just listening to the commentator to get a rough idea on volume and timing and things like that. And on its own, it doesn't sound like a curse. I think it's just kind of like a guttural kind of like kind of thing. But assuming I'm thinking of the same spot, it was something I think near the middle of the overall match. But with the music in there, it does kind of muddy it a little bit, and it makes it harder to. Oh, that. Yeah, no, that was definitely I'm thinking of a different spot then. Okay. I missed that one. But yeah, actually something that I really do like too about the way that we've got this set up is that each of the commentators is definitely bringing like a unique style to their individual episodes. I really, really like how everyone's been doing so far and how everyone's been playing off of the kind of commentary angle of it. We like, we've got C Dude who was doing the, was it for, oh God, which one was it? Skateboarding. Really like it, like really, focused and detailed commentary. We had, Ian from Born Losers Gaming who was giving like some solid, like fighting game tournament style commentary for we had a lot of really good stuff. We actually have a couple more surprise commentators that are going to be joining before the end. I think that there's at least two sets, I guess, of commentators that haven't been seen yet, have not been announced yet. Those will be fun. I'm actually really looking forward to those ones. We may have a third as well. Working out details. It might happen. It might not. We'll have to see how it goes. Man, we are dropping a lot of frames. Why? We shouldn't be having any problems with this tonight. I don't remember what the issue was with it last time. Like, I didn't reboot this computer before we got started for tonight, but my computer is not using up much memory at all, so I'm not really sure what's happening there. Huh. That's disappointing. I wonder if someone's using a whole lot of internet right now. I'll have to see, I guess. The downside of having an apartment with multiple people and living in the city is that there are only so many internet options that we've got, and we're making the best with what we can. But yeah, so the game's going well. There's definitely some surprises. There's definitely some interesting game choices that are still in the mix. Yeah, we still have a little bit left to record. Two people have two individual events apiece that they need to record, and we have one more competition that needs to get recorded. And I think that's happening. I think it's happening on either tomorrow or Sunday. But yeah, so as for other stuff, As I was saying before, a lot of videos have been on a bit of a pause. Not like super intentionally, like we didn't decide ahead of time, like, oh, when we do the games, we're just gonna like put everything else on hold. But people have been kind of busy, and we haven't had a lot of time with folks. Resident Evil obviously has been kind of off. Thousand Arms has been kind of off. Isle of Armor is also off. Mega Man, Rockman 8 FC has been off for a while. I think we're going to be moving on with that without John, just because he's very busy in the middle of a whole bunch of different things, and it'd be nice to keep the Mega Let's Play moving so it can eventually end one of these days. But yeah, so Thousand Arms, we are allegedly 2/3 of the way through the game. It's going to end around 100 episodes. That game is... Oh, it's so slow. We're trying. We're pushing through. We're getting there. We are getting there. Rockman 8 FC, that one has been fine. We just didn't get a whole ton of it recorded, and then John's been very busy and has not been around very much. Isle of Armor, like I was saying, we've got 2 more episodes that have been in the can for that were part of the last session. Yes, we figured out the water bike. Rather, I remember the water bike anyway, but I think that's literally in the next episode. It's either in the next episode or the one after, but anyway. But yeah, so we're making our way through that. Just judging by the look of things, it would seem like we're around, I don't want to say halfway, but based off of what little I know about it, like either halfway or a third of the way, we're kind of like in that ballpark. We finished the mission that we're on in the last recording session that we had, so... But I think we're like 35-ish% of the way through that, so we'll see how that one goes. Resident Evil Village, we'll be coming back to that shortly as well. I really wish that game was easier to get good footage of. I'm sure folks saw a couple weeks ago when we recorded it with HDR, which causes really nauseating lag and jitter when you're in the fallow plot, or basically anywhere where you see snow and tall grass or wheat. For whatever reason, the Elgato just has a fucking heart attack trying to handle that, because the game looks fine on the TV screen. It looks perfectly smooth. We know we don't have any issues with that. But then on the recording one, I can look over and see that it's like a couple frames a second. It's really weird. And then we turned off the HDR, and the frames were all very smooth, but then we went into dark areas, and we both, literally on the TV, but also in the recording, couldn't see shit in the dark. And we were literally clipping low. I don't know what the name for it exactly would be, but we essentially maxed out our black values on the screen to the point where some areas just look like this weird blue void. It was a fucking mess. Ultimately, we were in a dark area, so we opted to turn HDR back on, because we were like, well, we may as well just do that, because that footage will look better. And it does make the image just generally look better also. It's not just us. I don't know about other people's recordings of it, but apparently a lot of other people are having performance issues in the snowy areas. We also have ray tracing on. I turned it off. It didn't make a difference, so I left it on. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it just kind of looks a little nicer. But yeah, Resident Evil will be coming back. We are in Heisenberg's factory, I believe. Yeah, we encountered Heisenberg. We got kicked underground. We got some shit to do there. We finished off Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. The post game for that was a success. And we will, at some point, as soon as I can get John to sit down for it, we will be doing the Pokemon Sun post-game as well to tie up a couple loose ends over there. From what I can tell, based off the checklist that I've got, Pokemon Sun is I'd say smaller and simpler than the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee post-game. It's kind of just a list of Pokemon and trainers to fight, and there's not really special conditions for any of them. This is kind of a bunch of fights. We're not going to collect all the Zygarde cubes. We're not going to do anything like that, but we are going to do I think all of the like meaningful post game fights. Um, yeah, exactly. That's the thing is like if John starts losing people, then that'll be a problem. But I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be okay. At this point, I am expecting that we will not be jumping back into Insurgents after Sun is done. I don't think there's quite enough time. Because it's the end of July. It's about to be August. The new Pokemon games come out in November. I don't feel super confident that I could finish that game entirely in. I mean, in a perfect world, we would have like 60 episodes worth of time. But I don't really like, we wouldn't have actually realistically because of the Sun post game, it'd be more like 45, 50, and that doesn't feel very realistic to me. So I think Insurgents is going to stay on the back burner. I still don't think I want to do a stream of Insurgents just because that game is very, very stressful. Like doing Nuzlocke in general for streams is kind of stressful, and it gets kind of exhausting after a couple hours, if I'm real honest. Exactly, yeah. The Dragon and Pearl, Diamond and Pearl remakes are coming in November, so. But yeah, I had considered them as a stream, or not considered. I had considered whether or not they would be doable as a stream, and I think the answer is no. They being Insurgents, but it just doesn't feel like it would be. One, it doesn't feel like it'd be very fun to do like that. Two, I guarantee before the end of the first stream, in my exhaustion, I would make some pretty bad mistakes. Like I'm already riding really close to the line when I'm well rested with that game. I say in the present tense like I've touched it in 5 years, but yeah, I feel like there's a really high probability that I would make a pretty grievous error very fast by forcing myself to do like 3-4 hours of it in a night. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a realistic thing to have there. So that's okay. Yeah, no kidding. I was surprised. I dropped in. I didn't talk in the chat or anything, but I dropped in at 2 different points in the stream. I'm glad that he got his first gym badge, but yeah, like halfway through the stream, he was still on his way to gym number 1. Halfway through his second stream, so like 6 hours into this game to get to one gym. Yeah. It's not going to be as torturous as Pokemon Yellow. It does have quality of life improvements for sure, but we are still in the single-use TM era. We are still in the experience share goes to one Pokemon era. Like, there's going to be a lot of those. He's going to be at my best guess. I'm willing to bet that he's going to have, I'm going to say 14 streams. I'm going to bet 14 streams for Pokemon Platinum. That'd be my guess. And that's just because, like, one, he is kind of learning the ropes of doing Nuzlocke. And two, I guess it doesn't really matter until the end. I mean, Cynthia is a fucking terrifying monster for Nuzlocks. I have heard plenty of, like, Cynthia is apparently one of those champions that is like gotta like, unless you come in with a strict plan, she has a good chance of just wiping the floor with you completely. Friend Cam doing 3-hour Pokemon generally finish Nuzlocke in 10 parts. Yeah, I think mine was also 10. I think for Yellow, wildly different sizes for them, but I think mine was also in 10 parts. Not counting off-screen grinding. Okay. So, yeah, that's the thing is, I know Jeff was talking about doing off-screen grinding, but I don't think he did any between the first and second streams. I'm not sure, but at the very least I saw that Bidoof was still level 2 when I checked in. But anyway, yeah, so that's the state of Pokemon. Pokemon Rivals, I guess, is Let's Go is over. Pokemon Sun post-game will be coming back. First one was 10 hours, but I think there was one that was like 1.5. The last one was also a very long one for sure. So yeah, Let's Go is over. Sun is coming back for its post game. Insurgents is going to be staying on hold, unfortunately. I was hoping to get it done, but I don't know. I only have so much control over what the timing of everything winds up being. And Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are coming in November, and I need to get John to decide what game he's doing so that I can figure out what I want. I know it. I already picked out what starter I want to use, and like part of me wants to say I don't care what John picks, but at the same time, especially at the beginning of the game, honestly, those early game face-offs really are important, and it's so easy to swing them really hard to one side or the other. And also, frankly, the early game ones are the ones that I think are where I could make the most improvement on the padlock situation. I think if I spent more time actually planning a more well-rounded team where I can, like early face-offs, you only have so much control over that, but the move sets that I use, I could be a lot smarter about. Status moves are good. Buff and debuff moves are good, especially if he doesn't have any kind of like roar or anything like that. Then I can buff if I have ability, though buffs usually come later. As for debuffs, I mean, John can switch, but also if I'm predicting that he switches as he's getting debuffed, then I mean, I can mess with him plenty with that too. So yeah, things I got to think about. Just never listen to John and you'll win. Yeah, no kidding. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm gonna be I'm not salty, but I'm definitely bummed with myself about the way Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee went down. I felt confident going in because I was like, I have so many safeguards. I'm so ready to go. I very carefully put this together, and it just every single thing that I needed to I just needed any one thing to go, and they all fell apart. And that's how it goes. If you rely on random chance, then you have to be ready for the alternative if it doesn't happen. So that was the breaks. We're gonna come back for Diamond and Pearl even harder, and we'll see how those go. As for games that we are playing, Zelda's Adventure, we've actually completed. It's weird to think about. We have actually completed it. We have all the episodes. Originally, I was going to keep them at five a week, but then I just kind of I looked at the calendar and was like, we're so close to the actual anniversary of this whole thing. I may as well just kind of stretch it out. Not to mention, I knew the games was coming, and that was going to take a lot of my time. So I figured by spreading it out a little more, that was going to give me a little bit more leeway and a little bit more flexibility on editing and things. But we have finished Zelda's Adventure. We have finished every game now at this point, which is also very fucking weird to think about. I'm getting old, and it's weird to think about where these last 8 years have gone. The game sucks, though it really does try. It is an earnest, honest attempt. I was actually, by the end of this, I was honestly pretty surprised at how sincere and on formula the game actually is. It's so weird. It's so weird. 'Cause mechanically the game sucks, but it's also playing off of a glorified CD player. So I used to play not CD-ROM games, but if you ever played so obviously CD-ROM games, but there were also games that were on a CD but were really not built for it'd be like playing a game on a DVD player, which was also a thing, sort of. A few movies would have little game kind of things, and they always sucked. But taking away the mechanical problems with having a game on the CDI in the first place, the game itself isn't the worst. It needs a lot of adjustments to make it fully on formula, but you know what? It actually is it's okay. If the menus weren't stalling out on us so much, and I've seen that other people play the game and the menus are way faster. If that was the case for us, I think we'd be having a better time with it, and I think we would be more genuinely hey, this game is actually pretty decent. The acting and the camera work and the overlays, they are horrible. They are on another level of terrible. If you ever seen the YouTube channel, highly recommend them. Good, Bad, or Bad, Bad. This would be something right up their alley in terms of a video game kind of thing. At least looking at the acting portions of it. Oh, I almost knocked over. I got one of these. I got one of the little crab plushes from for Ashley Roboto. It's adorable. I'll put it a little close here because It's very adorable. I think it was a good purchase. It was Makeshift that did that. Yeah, Makeshift did that one. But yeah, so this would be the first time that we right, like we did sort of like we finished the Legendary Let's Play back in 2014 because that was the original intent of it, was just to play the core games, and then we kind of were like dicking around little like side ones and all of that, and then we decided to do this one that was like, okay, there's side games that we kind of left out, but this would be the first time that we definitively have done everything, and like the only stuff that we haven't actually like covered exactly, like the total list, and we're not doing any of these, is Tetris Trackers, which is a mini game in the Japanese version of Four Swords Adventures, I think. The Four Swords dungeon, the Temple of the Four Swords or whatever the dungeon in the Game Boy Advance port of A Link to the Past. And we haven't looked at the Zelda episodes of Captain N the Game Master. I think that's literally everything that we have not looked at that is officially like a Nintendo related, Zelda thing. And we're not doing those. So yeah, we've arrived. We have a couple more weeks of it left. I mean, it's gonna run right up to the last week of August, because that's when this whole thing got started. Big anniversary kind of fireworks celebration. I'm really happy about it. How many videos will we wind up with in total? I'm gonna go look real fast before I forget, because this is something I was curious about. We're coming up on a big milestone for, I think, the Supersonic Let's Play. All right, so I think we're gonna end up with 1,376 videos in the Legendary Let's Play. That's fucking insane. I cannot believe. I remember when we finished out the first one, I think it was 550 even. It might have been 555. But yeah, so cool. Bring back my notes again. Sonic 06. Sonic 06, we're coming down to the end of the line. I can say that we have beaten Silver's story. We have not beaten the final episode as far as how recording has gone. The final episode was a rude awakening. We have attempted it. It's probably going to be a couple episodes. But we're getting there. Yeah, I'm excited for Breath of the Wild too. Whenever that comes out, I'm assuming next year, we'll jump on it when it comes out, and then when it's done, unless there's some other Zelda thing going on, then we'll be off, and it'll be just anytime a new Zelda game comes out, we'll be covering it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, the final episode is excruciating. I like the gist of the final episode, at least the portion that we're in. If you don't want spoilers for, I'm going to say Wednesday of next week, cover your ears for a couple seconds. The level is legit. All of the characters you've played as each have a separate section of the level, a la Sonic Adventure 2. And you only have 5 lives to do the entirety of it. So yeah, game over is abundant. That'll be a thing. I was wondering if we were gonna wind up at I was wondering if we were gonna end up at 100 episodes for Sonic 06, and we weren't. We are like, we would have to have the most cataclysmic entire collapse of everyone's psyche to be able to take 100 episodes for this. My rough estimate is we're probably going to be in the ballpark of like 80 to 82. I think when we started the game, I was guessing like 80, 85. So like, I'm cool with that. But yeah, it's weird. It like, we've played games for longer. This is the longest Sonic game we've ever played for sure. I think somewhere in the 60s was where we had previously made our record. And we've done other games. This one for some reason feels like the one that we've been at like it's weird. It's hard to think of a time before Sonic 06. It just kind of has that effect on us. But yeah, so I don't know. Kirby Planet Robobot, we have fixed. I don't know if I mentioned that online anywhere, but so we figured out the problem that we were having. It literally looks like it was just a very slightly corrupted download. I deleted the game, re-downloaded it. I saved and re-downloaded the save file from the cloud, and it works fine. I went through that stage up to that point, and it works perfectly well. So my guess is, if I had to get really weirdly specific about my guess, I'd be willing to guess that the piece of data that was corrupted was the one that handles the color of the splatter effect on the screen when the last giant ice cream soft serve thing splats down in that room, because it's always literally right as it hits, and it looks like the splatter looks kind of gray for like the one frame before it happens. So if I had to guess, something in the piece of information for that color was broken, and that's where it was crashing. You plan to get to the 100% ending in Planet Robobot? Not during this series, where I'm gonna be doing some completionist style stuff down the line. But for this, no, we will not be going for 100% ending during this series. We're not, I don't think, going for 100% on any of what's left. I think at this point it's like beat the meaningful stuff and a couple extras. Kirby is going to get very streamlined very fast. This was supposed to be the start of it, honestly. Planet Robobot, I mean, it still will be, but was ultimately meant to only be like maybe 10 episodes, and then we move on to the next thing. Star Allies is going to be longer because they literally added like an entire second like game to it, which is kind of neat. But we'll see how those go. Talking about the games. Mega Man Star Force 2, we're not going to have any this weekend. I don't think Jeff's going to be around this weekend, and we didn't have time for it last weekend because we were recording everything for the games. So hopefully we will be able to have some stuff put together for next weekend. If not, then definitely the weekend after. Kingdom Hearts, we're going to see if we can get that back up and running for this weekend. We're going to try to finish that off. I think the main idea at this point is that we're going to try to, in the final story, we're going to finish out the Mirage Arena, and then off camera, I'm going to go grind in Aqua's normal story so that we can get the actual 2 super bosses, and we'll look at that then. But there will probably be a bit of a break between the Dreamy Let's Play like proper and the completionist stuff. It's probably going to depend slightly on exact timing of things. I would assume there's at least going to be some kind of break. It's going to depend on a couple other factors that are in there, but I would say it's more than likely that we will have at least some level of break between those. So. The Star Allies other mode is going to be interesting. We'll have to see how that goes. But Mickey's D-Link increases EXP. Holy shit! I will definitely keep that in mind. I am not as averse to the D-Link as certain other people are. I'm happy to be using the D-Link frequently for the sake of getting those powered up, because those seem like actually kind of useful abilities and things. Talked about those. Streams. Sunday there will be multiplayer stuff. I don't know what the plan. So I guess I should jump ahead slightly. Mondays are kind of up in the air. Dave had some kind of horrible curse placed upon his computer, and it started, I guess, sparking and billowing smoke the other night. So question mark on when Dave's streams are going to be back. Relatedly, Sunday streams, which are normally multiplayer stuff like Barotrauma, I assume that they're not going to continue Barotrauma right now without Dave, so there will probably be a couple other random multiplayer things going on. Question mark on those. Tuesday, I'm in the middle of Metroid Fusion. It's been enjoyable so far. It's definitely tenser for sure. They're trying to up the tension and the I guess tension. It's just all tension. It's a very tension game. Metroid Tension is more like it. Wednesdays, Jeff has his Pokemon Platinum stream. You could probably pretty safely assume that that's going to run until at least, let's see. I would be willing to bet that's going to last until roughly Halloween. Yeah, roughly Halloween would be my guess. Maybe a little longer depending on if there are any Wednesdays that are off. So we'll see. It's going to be most of the rest of the year, I think, for the Wednesday stream is going to be Pokemon Platinum Nuzlocke. Thursdays, I'm playing Spider-Man. I am now about a third of the way into the second DLC. And boy, oh boy, the Screwball challenges blow assholes now. In the first DLC, they were difficult, but ultimately doable, just kind of annoying. The first one, I think I legit spent like half an hour on and didn't get it last night. So that's gonna be a thing that slows me down because I am going for 100% completion in Spider-Man. We have 3 DLCs in total. We've completed the first one. We're a third of the way through the second, and then there'll be a third. And I think that's it as far as streams. And the next Patreon Hangout, for those interested, is going to be, assuming I've got all my stuff figured out correctly, and I think I do, is going to be Friday, August 27th. Unless, I think Labor Day is the weekend after, right? Let me double check this real quick. Yeah, it's the weekend after. Okay, yes. So August 27th, a Friday, is going to be our August Hangout as well. So what am I planning on after Spooderman? It's going to depend on a couple different things timing-wise. My plan is that I will be diving directly into Spider-Man Miles Morales and giving it the same treatment. And yeah. Depending on some other things, we might have to juggle some stuff for further Metroid streams, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, we're on a great speed path timeline, I guess. With Metroid Fusion, Fusion will be getting done in August, like that's definite. And that'll give us about, how many weeks is that gonna be? 7, maybe 8. Did I actually write this down? October 8th. So that'll give us about 6-ish weeks, which should be plenty to do Metroid Zero Mission and Metroid Samus Returns, which I do have on hand, ready to go. And if for whatever reason we get to the last week where we can get in Metroid Before Dread comes out, and we're kind of struggling on getting finished with Samus Returns, it'll either be a long stream or I will fit in another stream like that weekend or on another day or something, or I'll just do it during the day if I can. We'll see. But we will make sure at this point. I think we can safely say at this point that we will be doing Zero Mission and Samus Returns before Dread comes out. Do you think that I or the other members might attend Rhode Island Comic Con, assuming it happens? Generally speaking, I'd be open to it. We used to actually go to RICC a while back. They did have one year that was particularly shit in terms of planning, and a lot of people got like essentially locked out. It was kind of weird, including Meg, who was selling stuff actively. Like she was there as a vendor and couldn't get back in. So that was like a whole fucking thing. This year, I don't think we will. We're actively reconsidering a handful of plans that involve like large crowds and gatherings, especially indoors. We actually have like 2 or 3 vacations near the end of this year, all of which were ones that we had originally scheduled for 2020 and 2021 that kept getting pushed back by like the thing that we were going on a vacation for. And so we're kind of like, we're keeping an eye on things with that, and we desperately need a vacation. So there's a good chance that we're going to be rethinking and intimidating than the strain ever was. Um, all of us have been vaccinated, so the odds of any of us death from this are exceedingly low. Apparently, with the Delta strain, even if you're vaccinated, you can catch it and transmit it literally as easily as if you're unvaccinated. So, I'm going back to putting masks on when I'm in public spaces. I should have kept it on the whole time. Maybe I was a little optimistic with that, but I'm going to be keeping masks on anytime I got to go out and do stuff in buildings and things. And we'll see. Oh, geez. I think if the audio was cutting out a bit there, that was probably the MacBook going into night mode. Got a little stuck there. But yeah, so yeah, I would assume each of the Metroid games is going to be 3 streams in total apiece, which actually basically lines up perfectly with Dread. There's some kind of emulators because sometimes have problems auto-selecting what kind of flash memory capacity they need for certain games. Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest, as far as how the Retron actually does what it does. The only other time I can think of that we've had a real problem with game saves was Mega Man Battle Network 4.5 Real Operation, and that was more to do with the fact that the game expects to have an onboard clock, and the Retron doesn't have one of those. And that caused a couple weird issues in game. But yeah, so that's a thing there. My assumption for Fusion, excuse me. So when you plug a cartridge in a Retron 5, it'll do a little. I could probably I can't do it right now because I don't have anything hooked up for it. But it'll show like a little loading thing, and then it'll tell you the name of the game because it's able to detect that based off of it has like headers that it checks against a list, I think, and then it shows you the name of the game. But for Fusion, and generally if a game isn't plugged in quite correctly, it'll sometimes say unknown cartridge. And that's what was happening with Fusion. No matter how many times I tried plugging it in, it just kept registering as unknown cartridge. So my assumption is something related to that, and, you know, something about how it loaded the game. It doesn't know how to save it or something. The save states appear to be working just fine, so we are going to keep using those. If anything goes wrong with that before Tuesday, then on Monday I'll probably just replay the beginning of the game again, which will be annoying because it'll be the third time I have to do it, but we'll get through that. So it could hypothetically be a bootleg. If it's a repro cartridge, that shouldn't matter because we've actually used repro cartridges a couple times, usually not intentionally. Usually I prefer to avoid those. I'd rather have the genuine cartridge when I can. When we did Mega Man The Wily Wars, we were using a repro cartridge. And that one straight up like killed one of our Retrons. So maybe it is an issue of like a repro thing. I didn't take a good look at it, but sorry, I'm super congested all of a sudden. I'd really rather, like, one, I'd rather not buy them again. Two, I just don't want to use the Wii U. I just really don't want to. And virtual console games, especially, actually, just about all of the virtual console games, for some reason, have a weird issue with, like, brightness and contrast. I think one of my Pokemon Yellow streams, I forgot to change the brightness and contrast. You can see that it's like really dark for whatever reason and a little gray. The same thing happens, especially on the Wii. It happens a lot. I forget if I think the Wii U might correct for it, and I think the Switch does as well. Okay, interesting. So it might just be that Fusion is built in some weird way that, like, emulated, it doesn't really know. It could be an anti-piracy measure too. Who knows? Like, it is a legit cartridge, but it's being played on a Retron, which is, strictly speaking, emulating a Game Boy Advance. I did see on Twitter the Polymega guys are announcing their ship date on, what, Monday, I think? What day is that? I think on Monday, the ship date is being announced, which is like great. We've had a few ship dates already. I would just like to have the machine that I pre-ordered 2 years ago and have had to wait 2 years because I'm not a big enough influencer. It'd be nice. Which is a real shame because I would have gladly used it for a handful of stuff we were doing at the time, because it can handle stuff like TurboGrafx CD, which we did use, some PlayStation 1 and 2 stuff, which we did use. Like, it's a lot of stuff the Polymega would have been really, really good for, so we didn't have to like obtain or dust off some 15 to 20-year-old consoles. But oh well. Those might be the only ones that are left. I'd have to double check. Those might be the only ones that are actually. Yeah, those might be the only ones that are Wii U. There's not many. At the very least, there's certainly not many. Yeah, the Mega Man Watch was great. I still have it right. I keep turning my thumb the wrong way. It's basically like a few feet off the camera that way, on that shelf over there. I need to get it. Somebody had been recommending a person to get in touch with who was interested in disassembling it very carefully in a way that it can be reassembled, to preserve it, which I think would be a great thing to do, both A, because I think everybody should have access to it, and B, this is legit like the only fucking Mega Man 2 watch that I'm aware of that even exists anymore. It's literally the one watch that's been floating around eBay for like 15 years now. So I need to make sure that gets preserved. And while, it's still a possibility, I do need to figure out who to get a hold of. I should talk with Frank Cafaldi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I apologize if I got that wrong. But the guy behind the Video Game History Foundation, either he or someone that he knows surely would be able to get that set up. Ideally, I would love to have the watch back just because I think it's a cool little piece of paraphernalia, memorabilia, that kind of thing. But at the same time, too, if they ever put up I think they actually are working on a physical location, I'd be fine with. I might be fine with just donating it too. Oh yeah, we got the final Kirby's Toy Box game. That was awesome. I was really happy to see that got released. Well, sort of. So it's a very slightly corrupt version of the game, though I don't remember exactly what was corrupt about it. The person who did the legwork on that stated basically that the bugs in the code don't impact the actual gameplay. So it's like, all right, that's fine. But yeah, Kirby's Toy Box is complete. We got all 8 games. Cool. I was very happy. That was such a weird surprise at the end of the year. So that was kind of a cool thing to have there. Yeah, that was, and it was fun to kind of like throw that in there too. I thought that was a neat thing to bring back after, oh my God, I think the first episodes for that were 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It might've been 5 years ago and then 3 years ago. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2017, 2018. Regardless, that was a really cool thing to have in there. And now that's like a thing that I can kind of check off of, like just bizarre, weird stuff. Yet another bit of Satellaview gameplay that we got to pull off there. So that was kind of neat. 2016 and 2018. Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, the Sonic Electronic Games. I actually had thought about trying to obtain all of them for the Christmas episode with the Sonic 3 LCD game, but there's like a really weird, I don't know whether to call it bad information or straight up disinformation that's out there. Like if you go look up Sonic Tiger LCD games, you would think that it'd be easy to find a comprehensive list of all of the video games, of all the LCD handheld Tiger Electronics games that came out, just period. You'd think that'd be an easy thing to verify. But instead, what I kept finding was like the fucking like Fanpedia thing or whatever, where it's people going like, Sonic Boom for Tiger Electronics, and was like, why is this showing up in all of my top results? If you ever like, I'm sure you guys have seen, was it Fantendo is a very popular one where people essentially sort of fan fictionalize Nintendo games that don't exist and write articles about them as if they did, which is like a fun writing exercise, and it's a good way to flex some creative muscles. But boy, does it really muddy the waters when those start to propagate out as if they were real. And the Tiger Electronics Sonic games really are difficult to fully verify thanks to that. It's a fucking mess. There have been definitely times I've gone to look something up, gone, oh, sweet, this is it. And then gone to the page and been like, something seems weird about this. And then I look and it's like, oh, it's Fantendo. Right. Okay. I don't mean to like shit on those people or whatever. It's just like, it's something that does affect, the world outside of it, I guess. But yeah, I think I might be kind of winding down on stuff to talk about for this one. The big thing I wanted to talk about was the games. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I know that some games have been better than others. I agree. I think some games worked out really well, and I think there were some where either elements of the warm-up like session or elements of how we physically managed the games was not perfect. There were a couple games where, like, baseball is a really good example, where game mechanics were being figured out on the fly, which on the one hand was kind of part of, in my opinion, part of the fun of like just going for it and trying. But at the same time, I can understand too why that isn't great for some people also. So like, food for thought, stuff I got to think about if, for just like any other kind of like big group kind of thing that we do down the line. But overall, I think it's been a really successful series. People seem to be really enjoying it. I love the fact that we've finally gotten to collaborate with some of these people that are joining in for this. We have a few big surprise collabs that are coming down the pipes. And I hope you guys enjoy those too. And I think that is probably it for this hangout. I'm gonna ride off into the sunset while the energy is high and while we're all feeling good, and not like kind of do my usual thing where I drift off for like half an hour before we exit. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for being awesome patrons of ours. I really appreciate it. I want to keep an eye on how the Patreon is going and how people feel about it and the various tiers and all of those things, and I want to see about ways to improve it. I haven't really made really like strong pushes for the Patreon because I want to keep kind of feeling it out before I do that. The same thing as why we don't really have like, I haven't made a video ad for our merch store yet, which, will that be dpad.fm/merch should get us there, I think. dpad.fm/merch. Yay, dpad.fm/merch will get you to our store. Hooray. I haven't made like I've wanted to make like a video about it to advertise it, but I want us to be a little bit more settled in kind of the stuff that's going to be there for it. And also it just takes time to kind of put one of those together. But regardless, same idea with that. So yes, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys very much for all of this. I hope that we continue to entertain you even after the legendary Let's Play is over. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy what remains of it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.